Hi, and welcome to this new episode of the Lightleaders. Today, I'm with Ted Carr. Welcome to the show, Ted.
Thanks for having me, man.
So I'm excited to have you, Ted, because I've done a few series of interviews on fruitarianism, and as a man who wants to really treat this body as a temple and be thriving, I'm into eating fruits, not just for a spiritual experience, or for the ethics of it, but also I want to thrive on it. I want to build muscles. I want to be strong, and so I've interviewed some either who are embodying that, like, and you can see it, like Eli Martyr, Brian Mirabella, Josh X, also people who are super knowledgeable about talking about it, like Professor Spira and Doug Graham and Lauren Lockman. So for the listener, you can obviously check the whole Fruitarian series and learn a lot about it. And also I will put chapters from this interview so people can look into the specific parts they're interested in. And today I'm really excited to have Ted because Ted, you were a triathlete and then you got into building more muscles. So we'll talk about your story. We'll talk about athletic performance from a triathlon point of view, and then from going to the gym, building muscle and strength. And then I'll have a lot of other questions for you. And I'll share a little bit in that intro about my path too. So I started being mainly vegan about 4 years ago. And then a year and a half ago, a bit more, I did an irradiology session with a student of Dr. Morse. And from there, started mainly eating fruits and having one raw meal a day. And in the past 7 months, maybe 6-7 months, I skipped most of the time that raw meal and went up on only fruits. I've tried a lot of detox. We can talk about it too. From even going to turpentine and urine therapy and many like something called Zen cleanse, and also experimenting with fasting, dry, water, juice. So that's for the background. And now welcome to the show, Ted. My first question is, what are you grateful for today?
My team. I've got a really good team. I got a great team that helps run my business and keep my life perfect.
That's awesome. And actually, that's something we can touch on more towards the end of the episode, which is you help people build vegan businesses, right? And so you're like, you eat fruits, but you're very grounded also, which is something sometimes people say about people who eat fruits, like it's like the hippie, not making money or building a business. So that's going to be an interesting part too.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Cool. Well, can you start with a little bit of a background story on how you got into fruitarianism? I mean, eating mainly fruit or frugivorous lifestyle, however you call it.
Yeah. I've told this story like maybe 100 times. I tell it differently every time, but and it depends where you want to start, right? Like depends what age you want to start the story at. But I always, typically tell people I first got into it when it all started kind of when I was in college, and I was hating my life in college so bad. Like I hated what I was studying, and I was so stressed out. I was going on to the bus. I'd wake up in the morning, smoke a bunch of weed, and then go upstairs, smoke some cigarettes, and then I'd actually take the cigarette, break it in half, and put the tobacco in the bong and smoke the bong with the tobacco. And then I'd get super stoned and high on nicotine, head to school. And as I'm heading to school, you'd think I'd be like pretty low stress because I'm like all the nicotine in my system. I'm like super high on weed. It's supposed to be low stress, but I was so stressed out still. I was having like anxiety attacks on the way to college, hating it. And then I'd show up and I'd hate what I'd have to be forced to study and forced to do. And this whole time I was like, what the hell am I actually going to do with my life? Like, I don't know what I want to do with my life. And so during college, I just, to lower my stress levels, really, I just started going to the gym, the local YMCA gym. And it was crazy how like instant the stress levels dropped. When I go to the gym, I start running on the treadmill, I pick up the weights, I start lifting weights, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was just doing random stuff. but I felt so good at the gym. Just like my body felt amazing going to the gym. And when I was there at the gym, I was on the treadmill, and the treadmill overlooked the pool. And so the pool was something I'd be looking at the whole time I was running. And I was like, you know what? I should learn to swim, like learn to swim properly. Because all I could do was like, breaststroke or whatever. So after my workouts, I'd then go downstairs, I'd shower, and I'd go in the pool, and I'd try and like swim laps. And if you don't know how to swim, swimming is exhausting. Swimming is very tiring if you don't have good technique. It doesn't matter how strong you are or fit you are. If your technique sucks, you're gonna be so tired. So I'd do one length of the pool, I'd be freaking exhausted. I do another length back, I'd be super tired. And I think that was about it. Maybe like 4 or 5 lengths tops, and I was done. And then, a few days later, come back to the gym and do it all again. But one day I was at the gym, or one day I was at the pool, sorry. And I go underwater, I held my breath underwater. And I go down, and I got my goggles on. And when I was underwater, everything was silent. There was like no gravity. I was just like floating, right? I felt so peaceful. And I still remember that moment. I still remember exactly what I was looking at too, underwater. And I was like, I want to build a life for myself. I don't know how, but I want to build a life for myself where I can spend as much time as I want underwater. I want to live underwater for the most part. I love being down here. It's so peaceful.
Okay, I didn't know. Are you into freediving?
Yeah, into freediving, yeah. Not hardcore, but a little bit. But then right there, I was like, this is it. I found my thing. I love this so much. It feels so good. And so I started going to the gym more and more and more, experiencing that peace. But one time I was at the gym, and the answer of the how came to me, because I was wondering, like, how am I going to get out of college studies, and how am I going to live underwater? And I was at the gym, and I saw this personal trainer. She was helping somebody like set up a bike, get their bike fit on the stationary bike. And I was like, holy crap, personal trainer, I could do that. I love helping people. So I went home. I like left the workout early. I went home and like how to become a personal trainer. This is before like we had good phones, I couldn't go on my phone. I had to go on a laptop. How to become a personal trainer, personal training certificate. And I found like the shortest, easiest, cheapest way to become a personal trainer. It was like a 3-day course for like $500 or something. And I called my parents up, and I was like, hey, I can't do this college thing anymore. I'm dropping it. I want to become a personal trainer. So I had like a week left or something else from classes I was going to finish up. And during that final week before I actually officially left college, I watched a film on YouTube, or not YouTube, some other website called, the film was called Faces of Death. And it was the first time in my life where I got to see, it showed how a bunch of different things died. It showed how like alligators would like eat the tour guide. It showed how like birds would die. It showed like how monkeys would get killed, whatever. It showed how like bad guys would die in like the electric chair, showed them getting shocked to death. All these like faces of death, it's called. It's crazy. But then it showed footage of a slaughterhouse, what goes on inside the slaughterhouse. And up until that point in the film, I was like, I was grossed out, but like in a good way. I was like, whoa, that's disgusting. Show me more. But when it showed the footage of the slaughterhouse, man, I was like, that is wrong. That is so wrong. That's not good at all. I don't like that at all. I felt sick to my stomach. I felt angry. And like from that moment on, dude, I was like, I'm never eating red meat ever again. Because I thought, you don't eat red meat, you're good. I didn't know that chicken was a thing or fish was a thing, So I stopped eating red meat after that film. And then I went home, became a certified personal trainer very quickly. And then in the certificate for becoming a personal trainer, they're like, oh, do you also want to become a certified nutritionist? And I was like, yeah, because I know nothing about nutrition other than I don't like to eat red meat anymore. So I became a certified nutritionist, learned the differences between fats, carbohydrates, and proteins. I had no idea there was a difference. I just thought food was food, like probably most people do. But yeah, I learned there's actually a difference. There's fats, proteins, and carbs. And they all act differently, blah, blah, blah. That was fascinating. And so I started learning what the benefits of different foods. And I was like, okay, well, what is the best diet? And then people said, okay, vegetarian is the best diet because of these benefits. I'm like, sweet, well, I'm vegetarian. But then the vegans were like, no, the vegan diet's the best because of this. And I was like, oh, well, I should be vegan. So I became vegan. And then I kept Googling it. And then people were like, no, you should be raw vegan. I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Raw vegan. That makes way more sense. And then people were like, no, fruitarian. And I was like, oh, no, that makes sense. So I just kept leveling up. And then
Actually, bro, it's breatharian.
And then I see the breatharian at the top. And so I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I do some more research on that, and I was like, nah, not for me. But I mean, I'll do breatharian part-time. I was like, I'll do the breatharian thing from like, 8 p.m. I'll do the breatharian thing from like 6 p.m. to like noon the next day. So I'll be breatharian most of the day. But anyways, that's kind of how it all went down.
Okay. Well, that's cool. I mean, I'm also thinking in the gym fitness area, like if you go to a gym, it's not so mainstream common agreement that being fruitarian would be ideal, right? So in that environment of PTs, like you go as if it was smooth to go to fruitarians, but it's not really the case for most people.
You mean when I was a personal trainer?
Yeah, like what made you go that route rather than high protein and all the things that a lot of people that educate themselves in nutrition and go to the gym still do?
Yeah, I was very much self-experimental, constantly experimenting on myself, seeing what felt good. I was very in tune with how foods made me feel. Once I became aware that there were certain benefits to foods, I started to like people said, oh, there's benefits to spirulina. I was like, okay, cool. That was like one of the first like superfoods I ever learned about, spirulina. So I started eating a ton of spirulina, and I'm like, I don't really notice any benefits to the spirulina thing. And then people are like, oh no, you got to try this superfood. It's like goji berries. I'm like, okay. So I tried these goji berries, nothing. And so I kept like, and certain people say certain things with certain foods. And I kept trying all these different foods, and I never really noticed any like immediate benefit to any food other than when I cut out everything but fruit. Once I cut out everything but fruit, once I just had fruit left, then I noticed benefits. And if I brought something back in, I noticed, oh, this doesn't digest as well. So like nuts and seeds, they didn't digest well. I immediately felt the heaviness of them. And so I was just experimenting on myself. I didn't care if someone, even to this day, I don't care if someone says, oh, you need protein. It just doesn't feel that good for me. So I don't eat it.
And can you share how you feel also about things that might be long-term? For example, maybe there's something you add that someone tells you, oh, you need that for, I don't know, the B12 long-term. Do you think like the feeling in the few hours after is an indication you kind of fully trust?
If people take something and they feel it, man, the thoughts we think are more important than the food we eat. That's for sure. There's people who eat like garbage, but their thoughts are so beautiful. They're so pure. Their thoughts are so healthy. They're healthier than most fruitarians, man. Yeah. Because their mindset is just so on point. And there's people who live to be 110 years old. Their diet is like, what we would say mediocre, but this to be 110 years old. They outlive a lot of vegans, a lot of raw vegans even. So I don't really, I'm not too concerned about like any of that long-term stuff. I'm really much more concerned about my thoughts. I've got family members. My grandma, for example, 93, eats like garbage, dude. Hot dogs, Coca-Cola. She's 93. She seems to be doing fine. And she eats absolute trash. So I'm like, if I eat even like if I eat even like twice as good as she eats, which I consider myself, I eat probably like 100 times better than her. But even if I just eat twice as good as her, I got good family genetics to help me live a long time. And my dad eats like crap. My uncle eats like crap. Most people in my family eat like crap, and they're doing fine. So I'm like, I'm already eating so well. I'm drinking so well. I'm sleeping so well. My thoughts are so good. I'm not concerned about that. I know a lot of people, though, they're hypochondriacs, man. They're scared of everything.
Yeah.
They're so scared of everything.
That's a good point, because it's easy after, like, you read some books like Man's Higher Consciousness and think about the air, and then Arnold Ehret and those classics, and then it's like everything's toxic, it's like the air is toxic, the food is toxic, the EMF is bombarding us.
Holy everything. Yeah, man. It's like you're swimming upstream at that point. It's very hard to believe that you're healthy. And these people have this chronic cleanse cycles in their mind. We can talk about cleansing if you want, but these people think they constantly need to be cleansing all the time. It's like if someone came over to your house and they saw you constantly cleaning your house all the time, it's like kind of weird, man. Just like, you're gonna be scrubbing every fucking corner of your house, kind of like you scrub every corner of your body. You can if you want, but whatever. I've got other things to think about and do in life.
And that's a really important point, the thoughts, and also we'll talk about detox and also the different ways, maybe just a little bit, because it's less something you're a fan of. But also, just in a nutshell, to wrap up for your story, can you give a shortly but a little timeline of how long you've been on fruits, and a little bit more details? Are you like only on fruits, or do you have some greens?
Yeah. So I was 100% on well, I was 100% raw for 10 years.
Okay.
2 of those years were 100% fruit. So I was living in Thailand.
Mm.
And it wasn't like a conscious decision. It wasn't like, oh, I'm just going to only eat fruits because I think that's what I'm supposed to do. But that was the only thing I was attracted to. Everything else, I don't know if you've ever been to Thailand, but the greens just like wilted. Like the greens are not attractive in Thailand. But then I started incorporating greens again at an interesting time. I was on one of those hoverboards. I don't know if you know what a hoverboard is. They're not really hoverboard, but they're called hoverboards. They're those things with 2 wheels and you stand on them and you can like rotate them. It's a kid's toy, whatever. I stood on a hoverboard. I fell off. All my body weight landed on my thumb, like bam, thumb. So I broke my thumb. Small break. But right after I broke my thumb, I started craving greens. I was like, I really want some greens. I don't know why, but I really want greens. So I just started eating a ton of greens. Maybe my bones needed something in the greens to heal faster. I have no idea, but that's kind of what got me back into greens. To this day, dude, I rarely eat greens. I rarely eat vegetables, unless they're cooked or something or juiced. But yeah, so that was the past. Now, currently, my days kind of consist of, I have like 3 types of days. Some days are all fruit, 100% fruit. And that's usually only when I have like really quality, good fruit around. Summer, certain seasons, if I travel, whatever, like to Hawaii, whatnot. Super easy to be on just fruit. That's my ideal. Other days I'm all raw. So I have fruit throughout the day, and then I'll have a big raw salad in the evening, greens with avocado. And then some days is like fruit all day and then cooked dinner. And the cooked dinner is typically like a cup of rice with some guacamole or something. So it's like 600 calories about of cooked food.
Okay.
So those are like the 3 different days I'll have.
Thanks for sharing. And back to the thoughts, I really like the idea, and that's a good reminder for me. Sometimes I you know, to if I really want something else, to go and enjoy something else. Especially here in Ubud, there's a lot of amazing raw restaurants, but often raw restaurants like dehydrated papaya mixed with 20 other things. And I was finding that the problem with that, though, is sometimes my mind goes like, come on, bro, let's have like a nice, you know, raw meal, or even a bit cooked in a vegan restaurant. But and I did that a little bit for Christmas and New Year, but now I'm very sensitive now. So if I eat some oily stuff, I get sick almost straight away. If I eat something quite salty, I feel super dehydrated pretty straight away. So it's been an interesting experiment to allow myself, but actually still get pretty punished when I eat something that's not as clean.
Yeah, you have to just eat what doesn't punish you.
Yeah. We'll
or
see.
at least eat what you don't notice punish you.
Yeah. We'll see. I'm still more early, so I'm experimenting. So now I'd like to tie up to the athletic part. So starting with triathlon, and then we can go to the gym also.
Let's go to the gym. Sure, sounds good.
Gym first?
No. I mean, just the way you said it, your English is funny. You said, we'll start with triathlon, then we'll go to the gym.
Yeah, let's hit it. Pump some iron, bro. So yeah, with the triathlon for a while, you were raw vegan, mainly on fruits, running triathlon. So I guess you felt it really helped your performance. And I'm curious also, why not more people do it, right? I feel it's still pretty, like when I talk with Doug Graham, for example, it's like, oh yeah, it's obvious the best for athletic performance. But then I'm like, well, when I look at athletes, I don't know many who are raw vegans and the top athletes. So how do you feel about being on fruits or raw vegan to be a high performance triathlete?
So most people are not most people are not fruitarian in the world. We already know that, right? What percentage of the population is fruitarian? I'm going to guess, I'm going to pick a number. I'd bet like 100 grand on this, but I bet $100,000 right now that there's less than 50,000 fruitarians on the planet, right? 50,000 fruitarians on the planet. Go compare 50,000 to 8 billion, right? 8 billion people on the planet, 50,000 fruitarians, tops 50,000. And of the 50,000, who's actually doing it fruitarian like properly, like I used to be doing, maybe 25,000, right? So it's very few people. So to answer your question, why aren't more athletes fruitarian? Was because there aren't many fruitarians to begin with, right? So you only have a sample size of 25,000. Of the 25,000 fruitarians, most are not even interested in triathlon or athletics even. Most are just happy to, kind of like you alluded to earlier in the conversation, or maybe it was before we hit record, I forget, but you're talking about how a lot of fruitarians are just happy to be hippies. They're happy to just chill, walk around and be naked. So that's cool. Adam and Eve. I love it. So that's the answer to your question. It's like, that's why most people are not, or most athletes do not do it. But every athlete will tell you, every endurance athlete will tell you, every triathlete will tell you that the ultimate nutrient when doing races, whether it's a marathon or an Ironman, triathlon, whatever, is carbs. Fast digesting carbs, quick carbs, sugar. A lot of the top cycling teams will just take water and add sugar, and that's their fuel. Some add a little bit of salt as well to make them drink more. But that's it.
Actually, when I was into swimming, usually it'd be like pasta.
Yeah. So pasta the night before, typically, right? To carb up. Yeah. So, because again, people think, oh, carbs, carbs, carbs. So yeah. And when you're running past the aid station at a marathon, what do you grab? You grab Gatorade or Sports Aid or whatever. What is that? Gatorade is just freaking water and sugar, some salt, and the salt, they just add the salt there to make you drink more of it so that you get more carbs in. But athletes all agree that sugar is the best, but to look at fruit, there's not enough people doing it to make it cool. There's not like one person at least that's making it cool yet to eat fruit. So I'm trying to make eating fruit cool. I've had people in my life, like Doug Graham, for example, and Durian Rider and Freely, Dan McDonald, Life Regenerated, they made eating fruit cool. So I want to make eating fruit cool.
There was a runner. He had the website fruitarian.com. I can't remember.
Yeah, Mike.
Yeah.
Mike, yeah, fuck yeah. Mike's a good friend. He makes fruit cool, man. Yeah.
What's his full name?
Mike Arnstein.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he makes fruit really cool. And he built massive muscle on a fruitarian diet as well. He just didn't really show it off online, but Mike was ripped.
I couldn't find a recent online post from him, but I'd love to have him too.
We did a Zoom recording a few months ago and it was really good, but his mic was so bad that when I listened to the recording, I never uploaded it because the audio quality was so bad, but he's doing well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. And for you, you noticed the difference. So kept on it for your athletic performance.
Yeah. I found it interesting that people would think that, like, when I show up to the race, I'd ask people what they had for breakfast before the race, and they'd be like, oh, I had bacon and eggs. And they're like, how about you? And I was like, dates blended with water. And they're like, yeah, dates? Like, oh man, good luck on this race. They thought that my fruit diet was, insuperior. They thought that my fruit diet was going to handicap me. And so when they were racing against me, they'd be like, oh, this guy's just on fruit. He'll be easy to beat. In my mind, I'm like, dude, you ate bacon and eggs. You're going to be so easy to beat. You have to digest that shit. My shit's already digested, right? No blood has to go to my stomach to digest it. It's already pre-digested pretty much. Your food, you need all the blood to your stomach to digest that. So I always felt like, it's funny, with my competitors, I felt like I had the upper hand because of my diet, and they felt they had the upper hand because of my diet. But yeah. But another thing that was interesting too is my fuel for my races. I always ate the same thing for breakfast, during the race, and after the race. And it was just coconut water or regular water, whatever I could get, blended with dates. I made Datorade. And that was it.
Nice.
Sometimes I would put some celery juice in there as well, but not necessary. Yeah, so I liked it for breakfast. I liked it during the race, and I still enjoyed it after the race.
Nice. And now you've switched to your focus to more, the gym, building muscles, strengths. Did anything in your diet change with that goal?
Yeah, that's what inspired my dietary change. When my training changed, I was like, well, I had to stop and think about it. I had to think, why am I fruitarian in the first place? Why have I been fruitarian for 10 years? Why have I been raw vegan for 10 years? And when I realized it, I asked myself that, I said, well, I've been raw vegan fruitarian because I want the athletic advantage. I want to be light and energetic.
Yeah.
So in that moment, I realized, well, that is no longer going to serve me if I'm trying to get big and strong in the gym. Because I want to stay light as possible. And that was my advantage. I weighed like 130 pounds, dude.
Yeah.
130 pounds, 5'10". Now I'm like 170 pounds, 5'10". So when I made the switch to strength training, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to temporarily, I thought it was going to be temporary. I thought it was going to be a temporary experiment. I was like, I'm going to temporarily switch to incorporating some cooked foods, try that out with the strength training, and I'll go back to just fruit. But it wasn't temporary. Once I started eating cooked food again, like boom, it was like I couldn't stop. It's very, very addictive stuff. Cooked food is very, very addicting. And I think anyone who tells you cooked food is not addicting has never tried properly quitting. Like you only realize the addiction once you try and quit.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
Started eating cooked food, and I thought more the better. I thought the more cooked food I eat, the bigger I get, the better. But I didn't realize that if you gain weight very quickly, it's just fat. It's not muscle. So I gained a lot of weight very, very quickly. Most of it was fat.
Can I pause you for a second on the cooked food and the addiction? What makes, when you eat cooked food and you crave it more, what makes that you think it's addiction and not that your body needs it?
Body doesn't need it at all. Because when you don't have it for 10 years, you're not craving it at all.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, no, you know the difference. Yeah. I've hung out with so many friends too, and I've noticed this pattern with all my friends. Let's say we're eating fruit all day long, or let's say we have fruit in front of us, but we know in like an hour or something, we're going to go out and eat some dinner somewhere at Chipotle or something, right? Before I go to Chipotle, I fill up on fruit because I don't want to eat very much, right? So I fill up on fruit. My friends, on the other hand, are like, no, I'm not hungry. I'm going to save room for Chipotle. Like they're going to save room. They're going to eat less fruit because they want more drugs.
Yeah.
You know? So.
Yeah, I also do that. I stock up.
Yeah. So, but anyways, the reason I changed my diet was because I changed my training. And I don't know what the difference would have been if I switched my training but kept my diet the same. I don't know. All I know though is that one of the strongest guys I've ever met, Mike Vlacity, he was on a raw vegan diet.
Okay.
So I'm like, if other guys can do it, I'm sure it's possible. I just wouldn't know for me because I've never cloned myself.
Okay, that's interesting. I'll research. Mike, what's his last name?
Vlacity, VLASTY.
Okay, thank you. And that's a good point on the addiction too, right? If you stop something and you for like 10 years and you don't miss it, it's probably not that you're deficient. But if you start it again and then you miss it, that's the addiction part. So that's a really good point. And so now you shared about what you're doing. Why do you keep some cooked food right now? Every now and then, why do you keep that rice and avocado meal?
Yeah, so avocado, I pretty much have avocado every single day. Even if I'm just on just fruit, I'll typically have avocado. So avocado is like the one fruit that I'll have all year long. If I can get it, I love avocado. According
to the gram, that's a little bit over on the fat. Do you feel that's fine?
Well, it's not over on the fat if you're burning a lot of calories, if you're a bigger dude. So if you weigh 300 pounds, one avocado is not too much. But if you weigh 100 pounds, an avocado is probably too much fat. Too much fat. If you even believe in this notion of 80-10-10. Too much fat, of course, by definition, is too much fat, right? So we don't know exactly how much too much is, but we know that too much is too much. So for Doug Graham in his book, most of the time he recommends 10%. So according to that, 11% would be too much, you know? So it's just a guideline. But for me, I've always done well, felt well on more fat.
Okay.
I had a period where I went no fat at all. This is actually a funny story, super funny. I have a YouTube video of it too. I was no fat for 3 years and I looked super lean. I was doing 100 squats a day. My veins were coming out of my hip. You can see my veins. You can see my veins on my legs, on my arms. I was like lean, visibly lean. No fat for 3 years. I was like, no, fat is the devil. And I want to be 95.5. That was my goal. And my cardio was great. Everything was great. Strength was not really there, but I didn't train strength. Then I go to get a DEXA scan to test my body fat percentage. Because I'm like, oh yeah, I should be under 10% body fat. You know, and I wanted a DEXA scan. I don't want those bullshit calipers at the gym. They're super inaccurate. So I go to pay like $150 for a DEXA scan. And I walk in there and I ask the guy, I say, hey, Peter, what do you think I am? What percentage do you think I am by looking at me? He's like, yeah, you look like you could be 10, 11, 12%. I was like, okay, cool. Sounds good. So I go on the DEXA scan machine. I get scanned. Oh man, I get the results back. He's like, ooh, he's like 18%. It's like, no way, 18% fat. How is that possible? And he said the highest body fat percentages he sees are typically in anorexics because they have no muscle. So your body fat percentage comes down when you have a lot of muscle. And so if you're really skinny with no muscle, like I was, my body fat percentage is quite high, even though I looked lean. So it kind of made me realize that, you know, your body fat percentage doesn't really matter that much. It's kind of just like a vanity metric, a vanity number, like how many likes or subscribers you have. It doesn't really matter. What matters is, when it comes to aesthetics, at least, is like how you look. So if you look good in the mirror, if this dude who measures people for a living tells me I look 10, 12, 11%, it's good enough. I don't need to get DEXA scan to actually prove that I'm 18%, you know? So after that moment though, I came home and I was like, you know what? I've been neglecting fat for so long, thinking it was bad, but I'm 18% body fat. So I'm going to just start eating some more fat and not care about it anymore. So from that day on, I've incorporated more fats. But here's another thing that's interesting. Prior to that point, when I was on no fat for 3 years, I had no body odor whatsoever. Nothing. It was amazing. It's completely gone. 3 years on no avocado, no fat. You're going to have no body, and all raw. You're not going to have any odor. Once I started incorporating the fats back in, the body odor came back. And it has never left ever since. Even if I go like no fat for like a week or something, it's still there. So I think if you really want to get rid of body odor completely, you have to cut the fat out for months and months and months and eat all raw. So those are two little fun stories about no fat life.
It's interesting what you say though, when you said, okay, you looked like low body fat, but you actually had higher body fat. And
yeah, you can see pictures of me online, bro. I was rail thin.
But did I understand right that what was important to you is like how it looks like? Like I would tend to think.
Yeah, because I mean, that's important for everybody. Nobody, if I tell you right now, hey, bro, you're 24%, you don't care if you look good, right?
Well, kind of.
Who cares if you're 24? What difference does it make?
They're both important to me. I want to look good, but I want to like my test results to show that I look good. I don't want to, for example, if I take the example of someone on steroids, right? That's a bit extreme, but yeah, like if I take steroids tomorrow, I would probably look better. But inside, I would be more shitty. So I don't want that.
But body fat percentage is not necessarily an accurate health metric. It's not like a KPI to go off, you know? It's not like it's not like, oh, if you're under 15% body fat, like you're much healthier than someone who's 20% body fat, you know? Yeah, it's people care. Even if you do care about body fat percentage, you're going to care way more about how you look, you know, because if you looked absolutely amazing and you were happy with how you looked, but someone told you like you're 18% body fat, as long as you look good, that's what's important. And it's obviously as long as you feel good too.
Yeah.
But unless body fat percentage was like a very accurate measurement of health, which it's not.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, and I'll just back up a little bit, because sure, body fat percentage, I guess to a degree, there's going to be a range of how healthy it is. If you're like 3% body fat, that's definitely not healthy, not good for your hormones. Or if you're 50% plus body fat, you're probably anorexic. So that's like, of course, there's extremes. As long as you're in that middle zone of anywhere from like 10 to 30%, you're probably good enough, dude.
It's also quite different for men and women. I think women generally is like 8% more or something like this. So
yeah, women are definitely higher. They need more fat for their hormones and babies, potential babies.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, and I wanted to ask you also a little bit about supplements, because I heard in your interview with Gillian Berry, that was really good, by the way. Like you take quite a bit of supplements, and well, first in general, I like to follow people who I feel have quite a natural diet and don't need so many supplements, and that's why I like Doug Graham also, and Lauren Lockman and these influencers. I was a little bit surprised that you took more supplements than I thought, and yeah, I'm interested if you can share what supplements you take and why.
Yeah, it varies. I'm very inconsistent with my supplements, but today, right before this call, actually, I took a B12, and yesterday I took some vitamin D3.
I suppose on B12, because that's actually a big one, right, in the vegan community.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people who are like, okay, I take B12 because like, why not, and to be safe. But at the same time, when I listen to Doug Graham, Dr. Moss, Lauren Lockman, most of the big guys in it, they kind of say that you don't need it, that you can produce it. And even that if you take it with supplements, especially Lauren Lockman, he thinks a lot of those supplements, they actually injure the ability of your body to produce it. So I know, because I had that chat with my partner and my mom, and they prefer me to take B12. I'm like, maybe, but at the same time, I get the point of, I don't like, there's a risk also in taking the supplements. So what's your view on that?
It's kind of what I said earlier, how the thoughts you think are more important than the food you eat. And so there's people who don't take any supplements whatsoever, and they're completely fine.
Yeah.
Not only do they not take supplements, they also don't eat anything healthy, and they're completely fine. Yeah. And then there are people who eat really healthy and take a lot of supplements, and they're completely fine. So I think we could give it lip service all we want and talk about all we want, but at the end of the day, if you go get blood tested and your results come back and say you're fine, you're fine. You know? Or at the end of the day, as long as you forget the blood test, as long as you're feeling amazing, you have no signs of fatigue, no signs of like twitching or something, you have no signs of bad eyesight, you have no signs of wonky moods or hormonal imbalances, you're fine.
Which is actually probably better, because with the problem with the blood tests, a lot of supplements end up in the blood, but not in the cells.
Sure. Totally. Sure. Yeah. So that's another point too, is blood tests too. I think that's a very good point. I think if you are going to take a blood test, you should probably stop supplementing for like a month before, and you should get multiple blood tests, because current blood test could just give you a pinpoint of like where you're at today, but how about next month? Yeah. And I don't know, I'm not into the whole medical stuff. I'm not into needles or any of that shit. So I just go by feel. And I look at my dad, and he eats like absolute trash, and he's doing fine. He's like mid-60s, So I'm like, if he's fine, he drinks coffee every day, drinks alcohol every day, eats cupboard food and microwave food and McDonald's and all this crap, and he's fine. So if I'm eating 100 times better than him and I'm taking supplements, I'm fine, and I feel fine, I'm fine. That's just what I look at now. I've looked at enough people on the internet. I'm like, I'm just gonna go look at my family tree.
Yeah. And you've done iridology too? Are you interested in that?
Iridology?
Yeah.
Back like 10 years ago, I got it done by someone. I don't remember what the results were, but yeah, I think it can be interesting.
Okay. Do you want to finish on the supplements also? Because
yeah, so I guess the supplement I'm most consistent with is creatine. Because creatine is the one that I've just started taking it recently. I started taking it in summer, but I've pretty much had it every day since the summer. I've since like I've heard that I could lower my dose. I was taking like 5 grams of creatine per day, but I've heard that's not necessary. So I now do like 2.5 grams per day. And then other than creatine though, like I said, vitamin B12, vitamin D3, a drop of like minerals, because in my distilled water, I put a drop of minerals in there. I take zinc. I think that's it. Those would be like my main ones. And then I'll have like a daily green boost or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
And linking with the thoughts, so you take those supplements because you have the thought that you might be deficient, but if you didn't have those thoughts,
not that I might be deficient, but that I want to have all my bases covered like optimally.
Yeah.
Oh, I also take amino acids.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
So you talked about distilled water also. So that's another one. Is that your preference, distilled water over like spring?
I like spring too. I'm not a water snob, but I got in the bathtub like last year and all I could smell was chlorine. And I'm like, every time I got in the bath, I smelled chlorine. And I'm like, whoa, I'm drinking the same water. It's coming from my tap as well. I'm like, that's not good. So I looked into buying like a filter to get rid of chlorine. And then I just did a bunch of research and people said the best filter is a distiller. So I bought a distiller and I hated the taste initially. Actually, first time I had distilled water was at Doug Graham's house. He had a distiller. I drank that and I was like, this is disgusting. What's wrong with this filter? This is gross. It just tasted like boiled water, you know? And it was like kind of warm. It was gross. But now I'm super used to it. Now if I drink anything other than distilled water, I'm like, oh, wow, this actually has some flavor. Okay. But yeah, distilled water, I guess, is my preference at home. But if I come to your house and you give me some spring water, I'm happy to drink spring water.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's where I'm at with the water too. I had my phase of being like distilled water snob, and after speaking with Lauren Lockman, I changed a bit.
Yeah, I think spring water is would be the most well next to fruit. I rarely drank any water when I was living in Thailand. Every time I was thirsty, it'd either be coconuts or like sweet, juicy fruits like mango or dragon fruit.
Yeah, I'm the same here in Bali.
Yeah, fruit hydrates me like that. Distilled water, when I drink it, I'm like, it doesn't really satisfy my thirst needs. But if I drop some fresh lemon juice in there and drink lemon juice with distilled water, I find that much more satisfies my thirst.
Nice. And have you done any like? I'm also asking all this because so you've done more than 10 years on that path, and congratulations for that. Because here in Bali, for example, it's like a thing. The detox world, most of the cool restaurants in Ubud, they're like almost all vegan, and but there's a lot of people also. They'll try something, and then a year later they try some raw meat, these kind of things. So it's good to have examples of people who are consistent and who are also thriving on it, and who look like, they're doing it right. I'm interested in the detox also. Have you done like some detox from like things that might be more weird to simple water fasts?
I've done a bunch of water fasts.
And do you feel it helped, let's say?
What's that?
And do you feel it's helpful?
I never had any serious health concerns other than like everything that the Fruitarian diet cleared up. you know, so by the time I was fruitarian for over a year, any health issue I had was gone. So by the time I started getting into water fasting, there wasn't really, I didn't feel there was anything else to clean out. I kind of got, I kind of felt like I got everything out when I was on fruit, but I did do 21 days on coconut water. And after that, I was like, okay, if there was anything left in my system after all those years on fruit, it's definitely out now. Because on the coconut water island, I was just shitting liquid every day for 21 days. And at the end, I did a couple enemas. Nothing came out. It was just, the water was just as clean going in as it came. I could have drank the water coming out of my ass on the last day of that fast, man. Like, it was so clean, the water, so clean. And yeah, no, I felt completely purified after that. But I'm doing I'm doing a water fast actually this week on I'll start Friday and I'll probably go to like Sunday, probably just short 3-day fast.
Nice. So
I do short fast every now and then whenever I feel like it.
But I like your focus also on like being clean, and you know, in the detox world, like you're always dirty, you know, and again, going back to the thoughts, having those thoughts that there's always a parasite in you, that there's always this, the mucoid plaque in you, that and this to clean.
Yeah.
Cool. And when you shared about what got you into the like not eating red meat, you mentioned that a documentary or movie, and for me it was a bit the same. Like I started more from an ethical point of view. I was actually reading *Sapiens* by Yuval Noah Harari, but then also watch some documentaries and all that. And so how, like, is that something really important for you? Like, do you feel, does it give you meaning, or almost like that by being a good vegan and through a fruitarian and being super healthy, you also show an example where people can stop eating meat and feel they're thriving?
Yeah, the ethics to me is very, very important. I do not eat a vegan diet for my health. That's for sure. I want to make that very clear. I am not vegan for my health. I do not eat a vegan diet for my health. I am vegan 100% for the animals.
Yeah.
Even if a vegan diet made me like 30% more unhealthy.
Yeah.
Even if it made it 50% more healthy, even if I was like noticeably ill, but I could save all the animals on the planet, let's do it. Sign me up. Thankfully, I don't need to take a 50% decrease in my health to do it. Thankfully, I can help protect all the animals on the planet, help save all the animals on the planet. Thankfully, I can not have to kill all those animals or pay someone to kill those animals and still be optimally healthy. But the health does not come from the vegan diet itself. The health comes from eating primarily raw. Because if I eat primarily cooked, I feel like shit. Like if I eat, if I want to take a 50% decrease in my health, all I have to do is eat cooked food. Nothing but cooked food. If I eat nothing but cooked food all day long, I will take a 50% decrease in my health. I feel like so fucking tired on cooked food, man. When I eat raw, I feel invincible. So I love those all fruit days. I feel absolutely invincible. I can go all day long. I can sleep way less. Everything's better. So the health does not come from the vegan diet. The health comes from the attitude, the mindset. The health comes from the sleep. The health comes from the fitness. The health comes from my friends. The health comes from the fresh air that I'm breathing in. All these underrated things. That's where the health comes from. The health is like, you know, there's a spoke. In fact, I think in 80-10-10 book, one of the chapters talks about like the 21 things that you need to be optimally healthy. It's like fresh air, exercise, blah, 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 organic, all this stuff. But I don't believe that you need to be vegan to be healthy, but I believe that you need to be vegan if you want to feel like you're actually making a difference towards all the animals out there.
Yeah, and then it's cool to be vegan like you and be thriving on it, and through the more fruitarian, because then it's like, I know a lot of people who like, well, I would love to be vegan, but I feel that it's not, I'm not thriving on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they're not doing it right, man. They're not doing it right. And they're not really sold on it either. They're kind of like toe dipping in, like, oh, I'll try the vegan thing, but I'm probably low in iron. I'm probably low in B12. I'm probably low in protein. So they got all this shit going on in their head. And they're like, oh yeah, I feel it. I feel more tired and all this stuff. They're not sold on it. But I sold myself so hard on the vegan diet. Sold myself so hard on the raw vegan diet. I read and I watched hundreds of hours of inspiring content to really sell myself on this diet, on this path. So that way, nothing could knock me off course.
Yeah, I'm the same. I've been brainwashing myself, and interviewing people like you is part of it. How long did it take you also? Because like for me, for example, I do so after like a year and a half being like mainly raw, a lot of fruits, and recently being mainly on fruits also. I'm like, usually I feel more energy. I feel pretty good at the gym though. Like my strength is so, and I have my moments also when like I'm not feeling amazing all the time. Sometimes I have a few days where I feel, I don't know if it's detox or something, but where I feel I'm tired and I need to sleep like quite a lot, like sometimes 9-10 hours for a few days in a row. And so in a way, I'm pretty happy, but I'm not like, when I see you or when I see Eli from Freedom Society, I'm not like, wow, I sleep 5 hours a night, I'm amazing every day, So I don't know. I'm thinking maybe I'm still like having my body adjusting, and it takes a bit of time.
You're talking about energy levels, right?
Yeah, energy level and strength.
Yeah. So, okay. Those are two completely different things.
Which is different because energy levels, sometimes I have dips for a few days, but overall they've been great. So for example, if I go to ecstatic dance, which we do here in Ubud, I'll be like having more energy. Or if I go surfing, I can surf for a really long time. But then if I try to pump iron, not that well.
Okay, perfect. This is a great conversation. Watch this. So energy is not something that you are going to get. You don't get, and people think you need food to get energy. Energy is something you release. And desire is the triggering mechanism for the release of energy. So what you just said, talking about surfing and a sack dance, you get all this energy, it's because you like that shit. The idea of me going surfing right now or me going to ecstatic dance, I already feel tired. I already feel like, yo, bro, I can't make it today. I need to get work done. Sorry. Like the idea of doing those two things makes me tired. But when you say go to the gym, I'm like, let's do it anytime, bro. 3 a.m., 5 a.m., 10 p.m. Let's go to the gym. I love going to the gym. It's so fun for me. So same thing. It's like, have you ever been in love before?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, when you're madly in love and you normally go to bed like 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. or 10 p.m., whatever, but you're like talking to your love for your life. Dude, you talk to it till 3 a.m. No problem. 4 a.m. No problem. 5 a.m. No problem. 6 a.m. You won't even sleep for days, bro. Because you're so in love. You have all the energy in the world. Right? Because you love her so much. You have so much desire. So energy is getting released. So if you're noticing that you're tired at certain points of the day or certain activities, it's because you don't like doing that shit. So don't do it. I think going to the gym is just a trend. And I think people think they need to go to the gym or need to lift weights, whatever, but it's just because everyone else is doing it. You don't need to do that. Do what you really, really want to do. If it's dance or surf or whatever, do that. Walking, I love walking, bro. So I've got trails in my backyard. I can happily go for like a 3-hour walk, no problem. All the energy in the world to go for long, long walks. I got friends that come over and I'm like, bro, let's go for a walk. And they're like, no, I'm tired. I'm just going to chill. You're tired? What have you done? Nothing all day. All of a sudden you're tired when I say let's go for a walk, right? So if you're low on energy, man, it's probably because you're just doing shit you don't want to do.
Yeah, I mean, it depends, but I definitely have way more energy for things like surfing or dancing. So
fill your days with that shit, dude.
it just doesn't build, because I want to look good too, and the gym has something for the like to show the muscles. Like if I go surfing a lot, yeah, I'll be strong and I'll have good shoulders, but
so change what you do at the gym, because really the gym is just a place, and what you do in the gym is totally up to you. There's workouts there, dude, that I do not like to do, and the idea of doing them makes me tired. Like if I'm talking to you right now and you're like, oh, let's go do some squats, all of a sudden I'm tired. Fuck squats, man. I don't want to do squats. But if you're like, oh, dude, let's go train shoulders and chest, I'm like, let's go. I'm so excited. So just change what you do at the gym and do it in the way that you want to do it. But that's the energy side of things. And then you're talking about the strength. You said like, oh, you wish you were like stronger or whatever. I'm going to assume, just because 99% of the people don't do this, I'm going to assume you also don't do this, which is track your workouts, track every workout you do. Do you track?
No.
I assumed correctly. You have to track if you want to get stronger, because the gains are going to come so slowly. They're going to grow like a blade of grass. You cannot stare at a blade of grass and watch it grow. I mean, you can, but you won't see it grow. You can, even if you stare really, really closely, you're not going to see it grow. But if you measure that blade of grass, you come back every hour and you measure it. What's going to happen? You're going to see it goes from 1 centimeter to 1.5 centimeters to 2 centimeters. You keep measuring it over the course of a week. It's now an inch. But you'd never see that if you just looked at it. So you have to measure your gains, bro. You have to measure your lifts, not all your lifts, but your key lifts. Yeah. You have to measure, like, what are you doing today for 12 reps on a shoulder press? What are you doing today for 12 reps of bench? What are you doing today for 12 reps of bicep curl, right? You pick your exercise, pick your rep range, and find out what you're doing for that rep range. And then every week you come back and you try and beat it. And it's when you gamify it like this, now you have something to beat, right? You have to beat last week's level. Now you're like, okay, we need all the energy we can get because we got to beat it. And then when you do beat it, you're like, yeah, you got reason to celebrate. And they found that men who celebrate their personal records, their testosterone levels go up. When your testosterone levels go up, you have more energy. But when you have no accomplishments in life, you're like, oh, I'm just going to the gym because I'm fucking skinny. You're in your little twig and you're going to stay a twig. You have no reason to celebrate because you're just in there just dinking around. But if you actually have victory in the gym and you feel like you've conquered the exercise and you've become more of a man, you become more stronger, man, you're gonna release that testosterone. You're gonna feel so good. You're gonna look good. You're gonna go in the mirror and you're like, oh yeah, I can see the gains now. You know, so you have to measure. You can do it in a journal. You can do it on your phone, but you can't do it in your head.
Actually, I like that you had the celebration and beating also on that gamification, because I mean, a few months ago, I was tracking, but I was on a program where I would do something like, let's say, shoulder day, and I would do these exercises, and then I do them again the week after. But in terms of mindset, is like, can I do the same as last week rather than going there to improve?
Yeah, man. So, and here's what's interesting. So I like to, and here's what you could do too, is I like to know what I can do, for example, on bench press for how much weight can I push for 5 reps? How much can I do for 6 reps? How much can I do for 7 reps? How much can I do for 8 reps? And I might range anywhere from like 5 reps up to like 20 reps, 25 reps. So today, for example, on pull-ups, I looked at my list. That's what I did this morning. I looked at my list. Okay, what pull-up record are we going to beat today? That's always my mentality. What record am I going to beat today? And if you think of what I just said, anywhere from, well, pull-ups, I actually have a 1 rep max all the way to like a 22 rep max. I'm like, what record am I going to be today? I have 22 choices for pull-ups. And today I decided I'm going to go for my 19 rep max. So today I strapped on a 5 pound, or was it 18 rep was the one I broke. I strapped on a 5 pound plate, very lightweight, but 5 pounds. And I got 19 reps. I was like, yeah. So every week, man, I've got my selection. I got a menu.
Yeah, that's smart, because if you got a little bit better at pull-ups, then you have like 22 records you can beat. So you make new records all the time.
Totally. And that's just pull-ups, let alone bench, incline bench, decline bench, bicep curls, shoulder press. And there's different kinds of shoulder press. There's this kind, and then there's this kind, you know? Same with pull-ups. You can do chin-ups, or you can do neutral grip, or you can do what, like variety, and you pick. So when I go in there, every time I go to the gym, I actually cherry pick. I make as easy as possible for myself. Which record do I think is going to be the easiest one to beat? I'm in there just to get the freaking record. I think of it like a bank robbery. You get in there, you get the money, you get out. So my workout today was very short. I did one set of pull-ups, maxed out, got my record. I'm like, all right, last quick set. I'll do some rows and I'm out of here. Done. Back today. Done. It's like a 15-minute workout tops, probably 10 minutes. And it felt amazing. Even talking to you right now, I feel very proud of that.
Yeah.
Because I did something I've never done before.
Like, and you say, I think I saw like 3 times a week or something, right?
Yeah, I work out like 3 times a week.
Okay. Yeah.
I happen to do it 3 times a week. You could work out every day of the week. I was thinking about this today. I was like, I could, if I wanted to, I could work out 7 days a week. But you just have to hit each muscle group twice per week. So if, for example, today I did pull-ups, and let's say, for example, I was going to work out 7 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
Today I would just do pull-ups. Tomorrow I would just do, let's say, squats. The next day I would just do bicep curls. The next day I would just do shoulder press. Like, you just pick one exercise per day for 7 days, you know? But I like my 3-day split. It's full body. It's very good.
You mentioned being in Thailand before. What made you go back to a city, to Vancouver? Because I guess it's easier as a fruitarian to be in the tropics.
Yeah. Well, again, I was fruitarian for triathlon purposes. And living in Thailand was very polluted. Very, very poor air quality where I was in Chiang Mai. It's better in the islands, but the islands is like third world living. And where I live in Canada, I live in a beautiful house, beautiful neighborhood, beautiful city, I drive a beautiful car. Everything's first world. Everything's premium. Everything's like, I get the best, anything on Amazon delivery. I get everything. I'm like hooked up. And I have nature in my backyard. My whole backyard is deep, hundreds of miles of nature. Thousands of miles of nature in my backyard. So I'm very, I have the best of both worlds here. I have nature and I have the city. I rarely ever go to the city. Rarely. But I like Canada just because it's very convenient, it's very clean. Everything makes sense here. Oftentimes in these third world countries, whether it's Thailand or Costa Rica or anywhere, any third world country, I'm always wondering, I see people doing stuff like locals or whatever. It's such a different culture. I'm like, why is he doing that? Why is she doing that? You know, they just do things that I can't wrap my head around. And Thailand has a culture of being very chill, right? Which is why people love it, going to relax. But they're so relaxed that they're relaxed to a fault. Like, I'd go down to the front desk and ask them, hey, can you book a taxi for my flight? I have a flight coming in 2 hours. I need a taxi here in 20 minutes. They're like, sure, no problem. Cool. So I go to my room. I come back 20 minutes later. I'm like, cool. Taxi. Is a taxi here? And they're like, oh, no taxi. I said, did you order a taxi like I asked? And they say, oh, no, not yet. When you need it by? Fuck, I needed 20 minutes ago. Dude, I'm gonna be late for my flight. And they also have, because they're so relaxed, they also have this culture of they don't apologize. So they never say, I'm sorry. They never say, oh, sorry, we screwed up. They just say, oh, don't worry about it. We'll call another one. I'm like, dude, don't worry about it. They're so relaxed. And so it's very hard to make moves in Thailand, very hard to make business arrangements, and everybody's late for shit. I'm like, dude, okay, we'll meet here at 3:00. 3:30, they show up. Don't apologize. I'm just waiting there for it's so slow. And I love when shit moves fast. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't want to talk shit about Thailand. I'm just giving a couple examples. Thailand's freaking great. I'd love to go there for vacation. But the culture, they are so relaxed, and it's not good for getting work done. Whereas Canada, maybe the opposite. America, maybe the opposite. Maybe we're too go, too high stress. But, every country's got their thing.
Cool. Well, thanks, Ted. We're gonna go towards more the end of the episode, but I'd love to ask you a little bit about helping vegans grow businesses, and if you have why you're passionate about that, and if you have a few tips on that, because I think it's it's important for everyone who has a purpose, whether it's nutrition driven or ethical, to go out there and share why, you know.
Yeah. I'm really, and I've always loved the idea of complete freedom. Even when I was a little kid, I'd lay on my bed. Now, I was like 6 years old, 5 years old, lay on my bed, and I'd be like, I just want to be able to do nothing and not stress about having to go do shit. Because I saw my mom and dad working and going to their jobs, trying to make money. I was like, I don't want to have to worry about money ever. I just want to be able to lay on my bed, and if I don't want to do anything, I don't want to have to do anything. I want to just chill and have ultimate freedom. And so I realized that that was never going to happen with a 9-to-5 job. With a 9-to-5 job as a wage slave, you have to trade most of your time for a little bit of money. It's the only way. That's how wage slaves work. So I hated having a job, and I started to notice that some people didn't have a job. Like my uncle, he had his own company. It's like, my uncle's super rich. How is he super rich? And everyone else in my family is working all the time and they're broke. I'm like, why don't I just do what my uncle's doing and start a business? So I don't know if it wasn't for him, I don't know if I'd ever start my own business. But I started my own business and it failed. Started my own next business, it failed. And I've started like 30 businesses and most of them fail. But a few of them succeeded. And the few that succeeded have helped me go on to make millions of dollars. And the secret with there is just to keep trying stuff until you find something you really, 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 really love, and something that really connects with the audience. So one of the things that really worked for me was I was just teaching people how to be raw vegan. And I had a 30-day raw food challenge. I had one-on-one coaching. I had a recipe book. And when you have those 3 offerings, when you have an ebook, when you have a course, when you have coaching, you've got something for everyone. You know, so someone might want the ebook, someone might want the course, someone might want all 3. They want the coaching as well. So I started making money with that. Good money. Well, decent money, $5,000 a month.
By the way, as a parenthesis, I really appreciate that you do that, because sometimes I get a little bit annoyed in the health community when I feel it's totally fine if people love a product and they recommend it, but sometimes when there's too much affiliate, I'm really questioning the ethicals. Like, I don't know, I was watching a Fully Raw Christina video and there's like tons of supplements with all links, and I'm thinking, well, you know, how much of that is distorted by the business, you know? So, well, I feel when you're doing coaching or online courses, then you can have a business and share what you genuinely feel helps people. Again, I don't know in her case, but it's just in general. Well, with affiliates, I often question, or even when it's juicers or all these things, I'm like, well, okay, some types of diet are way easier to monetize, so it's easy to get swayed off what you actually think.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think there's time and place to promote affiliate stuff. Like I promote Daily Green Boost, right? I make like $3 every time someone buys a bottle or something, but I'll still promote it. But yeah, so I was promoting these digital products that I created, and I was making like $5,000 a month from those. And then people started asking me, how are you affording to live in Bali? How are you affording to live in Costa Rica? How are you affording to live in Hawaii and Panama? And I just showed people, like, look, I have ebooks, courses, and coaching programs. I have this little workshop. I showed people, here's how I do it. And then people started paying me hundreds of dollars for me to help them set them up. So I've now helped many, many people up, helped them get set up, and helped a lot of vegans make a lot more money. A lot of them helped them from scratch. Some of them I just helped optimize what they've already got. And it's not because I love business necessarily, not because I love money necessarily. I just love the freedom it gives. And I love talking about it too, because I was talking about the fruit thing for so long, the fruitarian thing for so long. And I was say there's only so many ways you can tell someone to peel a banana, you know? Whereas with business, there's just so much variety you can talk about, and it never really gets old for me. So I love teaching it. I think it's fun, and the rewards are truly life-changing, just like they are with the fruitarian thing or the raw food thing, like absolutely life-changing results. When you help someone get healthy or you help someone get wealthy, the results are life-changing. So luckily my clients come to me and they create programs that help other people get healthy. So I'm actually, a ton of people get healthy indirectly, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thanks, Ted. Yeah.
Yeah. So what you're doing with this podcast though, man, like this is like a potential business move, you know, like just doing podcast interviews. You get bigger and bigger and bigger guests on, get more and more and more views. And then when you're ready, you can be like, hey guys, I'm hosting a retreat. Boom, you get thousands of dollars coming in for your retreat, tens of thousands of dollars coming in for a retreat. Or you could say, hey guys, I want to offer some coaching now. Boom, $10,000 for coaching, like ebook, whatever you want. Cleanse, your own 30-day cleanse, whatever you want. Like, so putting these podcast episodes out is a good move.
Yeah, for sure. I've been doing it for 3 years. I think you're number 154, and that's something that's really stuck with me. I've branded it wide enough so it can keep up with my interests too, because that's the thing, interest evolves. So for example, I have online courses in cryptos, and I'm still passionate about crypto, but right now I'm more passionate about Fruitarianism, for example. And I'm taking some time before starting to do a bunch of things around that, because maybe in a year I won't be as interested, and I could still be Fruitarian, but maybe I won't be so interested in talking about it and coaching about it. The same as, I don't know, 4 years ago, I was passionate about talking about meditation. I still meditate every day for a while, but I'm not as interested about talking about it. So it's an interesting balance of at some point choosing something and doing it consistently, but also honoring that interest might change.
Totally.
So,
You can only say the same thing so many times without getting sick of saying it, whether it's the meditation or crypto or fruit, whatever, fitness. And it's typically like you're most excited when you're first discovering something. Right? When you first discover crypto, you're like, holy shit, I gotta tell everyone. When you first discover raw food, you gotta tell everyone. But once you've been at it for years and years, it's like, okay, like how many times I gotta say this? So yeah, it's good you have multiple interests, and you can let your guests do most of the talking anyway.
yeah. Well, for me, it's about learning a lot and also connecting with people. Like, there's a lot of exciting things coming up. I'm also quite into the crypto space, and they have some resistance with the standard business thing. I feel a lot of the current fiat money system leaches a lot of money to centralized powers that I don't want to finance. So I'm like, anyway, there's like things I like to talk about. That's for another time. But I think
well, when you host your retreat, you can tell people, hey, it's $4,000 to come to the retreat, or it's $3,000 in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So you give them $1,000 discount if they pay in Bitcoin.
Yeah, what I did more than a year ago was started a mastermind. People joined by buying an NFT, which is even next level. And then in April, we have an event also where it's going to be like people pay to join, but they can obviously pay in cryptos, and they'll get a bunch.
Give them a discount for crypto though. Give them a discount for crypto.
Yeah, we're like 30 organizing, so we'll see. I think there is a little, but to me, the most interesting when people come to a retreat, even if they pay, is that they become part of a movement then, and they have shares in it, and that's like they become a co-creation of it. So even for example, your clients, right? Like when they do a coaching with you, you could end up at some point having, let's say, TED tokens. And when people do a training with you, they have TED tokens, and you have tokens of, like, you'd have Alex tokens, which makes that when you become big and more successful, then I have almost shares in you, and that I think is cool models of monetization too, but it's still very early days.
Yeah, no, I can see that happening for sure. Influencer tokens.
Yeah, I'll get some TED tokens.
Cool, man. Well, thanks for the interview. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Ted. And if you want to share, obviously, whether you through your channel, I'll be in touch. And also, thank you so much to you for your time, for your dedication, like more than 10 years doing the work every day. The consistency is very inspiring. And also, thank you so much to the listener for taking the time to listen. If you like, please like, share, subscribe the video. And I'll leave you the last word, Ted.
Love.
Thank you.